There we go. So I'm going to be talking about Papa PUD, which is in Oakland, California. And I'll just start by introducing the city that I know and love. It's a 160-year-old port city, and it's been really struggling to redefine itself in the 21st century. So even though it's close to Berkeley and San Francisco and Silicon Valley, it really hasn't benefited from that proximity from the larger Bay Area's research and tech and tourism industries. It's a very diverse city. It has the most artists per capita outside of Brooklyn in the US. And the last 7 years has seen like a renaissance that's happening in Oakland. There's a lot of bars, a lot of restaurants. There's a great gallery scene. There's a monthly art murmur. However, this renaissance is kind of within the context of a pretty hard hit decline in Oakland. So the commercial vacancies in Oakland were upwards of 45% in some neighborhoods much higher, some neighborhoods back down to 5%, but it really depended on where you're looking. And the unemployment is also high. And Oakland sort of lacks the infrastructure to capture the renaissance and the energy that's happening there, and the momentum of the galleries and restaurants. So the success there feels a bit fragile right now. And we were sort of tired of waiting for the economy to turn around. And so we founded this social enterprise called Papa PUD to help change our city, basically. So just a little bit about Papa PUD. It's a small business incubator, revitalizing neighborhoods block by block. We take a very radical approach in solving design problems with shaping the landscape of our streets and neighborhoods. We ask the folks who live and work in the neighborhood what's missing. We ask the building owners to look at the triple bottom line and assess their role as partners in the community, their economic health, and the business's success. And we insist that government agencies invest in people as well as structures, as small businesses can propel our economies forward. So to tell you about our case study we did in Old Oakland, I don't know if you guys have been to Oakland or Old Oakland, but it's the historic district and the original business center of Oakland. So conceptually, it was nice to start our initiative in that business sector. It was just one block, and within that block there were 5 vacancies. So visually, it really communicated like a desolate feel. Just one block over, there were businesses and restaurants, but these early investors were really struggling without a retail presence. So because it was so hard hit by this decline, the vacancies had been there for 1 to 2 years, right on the main Broadway street. So our solution was to curate 5 new retail shops, open them by the holiday season, so they could take advantage of that. We met with stakeholders and pitched our idea to transform these vacancies and renew this neighborhood, sort of as a package deal. We negotiated 6 months rent for the retailers, and this all happened within 3 months. So the building owners actually went further and invested in lighting for the blighted alleyway. They invested in a historic window for the building to transform a storage unit into a cute little retail shop. The city put in seed money from a now defunct redevelopment fund, just when we were getting started. And then the Culture, Arts, and Marketing also invested in-kind donation of billboards, bus shelters, and other advertising real estate to sort of reposition this neighborhood as a retail destination. So that was part of our core philosophy, is to use cross-sector partnerships and really galvanize people to everybody do a little bit of buy-in to make this work. So it was our mission to market these new shops as a cluster, which repositions the district as a shopping destination, and that spurs long-term economic impact. After the 6 months of free rent, 3 of the shops signed a long-term lease, and we have 2 new shops that have opened up in the last couple months. And Shop Local campaigns they send a very powerful message but only if there is a local shopping option. So in Oakland, like, I can't stress enough, there was just no retail. So we provided, over this last year, 8 new shops for that area. So a shop can support 40 vendors, 90% of which in one of the shops is local. And with every dollar these independent retailers make, they invest 68 cents back into the local economy. So the building owner reports that the upper floor occupancy is now at 100%, and the square footage has kept pace with demand by increasing in the office space 30 cents in just 6 months. In this way, we begin to see the value of subsidizing commercial retail and offset them with the marketing that we did to rebrand the neighborhood and fill residential and office vacancies of higher value. These new businesses have added vibrancy and a sense of place to a neighborhood, reconnecting local residents and providing a destination for, I don't know, the 2 tourists that we get. In this sense, the creative economy is the new economy. So we use the idea of a temporary pop-up model as a low-risk solution for the retailer to try out products and services and new markets. It also frees up capital for the pop-up to invest in inventory, signage, marketing, which is a crucial step in transitioning to a second location, or if they're just primarily an online business. And this sets appropriate expectations as well from the landlord, the consumer, and the neighborhood. So the residents and workforce, they stop in during lunch, they window shop, and they're investing in the neighborhood by supporting these local shops. And in this way, temporary is a very positive thing, and it reframes the stakeholders as partners in the shop's success. I don't know, where's my timekeeper? Okay. So we're calling this the culture of the interim, and it's kind of interesting to talk about this in the context of like architectural structures, but we're rethinking retail and its role in revitalizing cities. Old Oakland is now a thriving, vibrant neighborhood, and we're leveraging this case study as we broaden our partnership with the city of Oakland and other cities. We're applying this new model district-wide, so we've gone from 1 block to 15 blocks now. And this area that we're looking at is ground zero for the art murmur on 23rd in Oakland. So to build our model, we have expanded our partnerships, working with 2 architectural firms, and they're offering their services because of our social mission. We have forged alliances with the County of Small Business Development Center, Women's Initiative, which is a nonprofit that serves low-income women who want to start a business. So by working with these local organizations, we're trying to accelerate the workforce development, and we're bridging the gap between this creative economy, developers, building owners, and the city itself to stimulate economic growth. And the unique group of these curated retailers is, we know, is a very desirable growth sector in the economy. It's women-owned, they're all women-owned businesses, and they're all really small businesses. So we're co-developing solutions for them and other pop-up shops with other business partners and tech partners. And this is expanding what they could do on their own because it's a cluster that we're working with. So this is the culture of the interim is really becoming a good thing, a positive thing. It's bringing a lot of startup energy, iteration, prototyping to urban design. It also reframes the micro enterprise. So we really created a win-win scenario for building owners, developers, municipalities, and residents. We created 15 new jobs, 5 new tenants, and 3 of which have signed on, as I mentioned. So if we redefine the arts and makers as small businesses, then we start to redefine where investment flows into the economy. And we take this a step further and redefine micro-enterprise with clustering, marketing, and a shared economy model. And this has a major economic impact. So we're starting to measure this impact in several different ways. The addition of retail dramatically increases the perceived safety of the neighborhood by having daytime businesses. And this is a huge reversal of years of vacancies where the neighborhood seemed undesirable and unsafe for investment. And also, we're measuring the increased foot traffic. Patrons are like lingering, and then they can go to the restaurants and bars. And that's an important, retail is a really important piece of that whole ecosystem. So looking forward, we've had really good media attention, and we've had great turnouts for our events, and we have an outpouring of local support for our efforts. So we're currently have other cities in mind to take this model to. Chicago, New Orleans, we're going to Detroit, and we've reached out to explore other partnerships as well. We keep expanding. So we just got back from Melbourne, which is a really great, interesting city, and they have a lot of good ideas about how to integrate this small young designers and emerging designers with the greater economy. And so we started to look at how do we sustain our initiative economically. So all 5 stores have linked their social media, they all coordinate their events, they all coordinate their hours, and we're developing tools for them that they can share. They're all sharing internet. So this is a really interesting way that this clustering has started to evolve into a sharing economy for the stores. They've started to really take ownership of the neighborhood as well. So the retail trends that we've seen are collaborative, temporary, experiential, creative, very focused on community engagement. So Crown 9, there you go. So she's a really great example of the collaborative retail model. She has a jeweler in the back as a studio. She does classes and workshops in her showroom. So she's a full schedule of that, and she has 2 other jewelers that partner with her in the shop. Sherry McMullen, she used the idea of the temporary to open a second shop and test the market for like a younger, more urban clientele. And because it was a really finished out space, it was a really low capital investment for her. Piper and John General Goods, aside from being adorable, they are really good at experiential retail. I mean, you walk in and you just feel like you're at a friend's house and everything there is just cool and interesting and you want to go look at it. So she kind of approached merchandising as an artist and really made her store an art installation. And her gallery is in the back. Marion Rose's workshop is a great example of the creative capital that Oakland has. I mean, that's one of the biggest assets that it does have right now. So they have a monthly curated gallery in the back, retail in the front, and she's just been a pillar of the Oakland arts community for 15 years. This is our newest store, Umami Mart. They had a huge, robust online community of focusing on Japanese culture around the world and global contributors to the blog. So for them, opening an actual brick and mortar was a really interesting way for them to really have a location to engage that community and I just went to a soju tasting on Thursday. So they're really invested in communicating and sharing Japanese culture. And then a lot of the bars that you go to around here that are obsessed with mixology buy their products from them. So let me catch up here. So these trends are part of a larger economic shift, and we're advising developers to decrease their retail square footage. We're advising building owners to divide larger spaces and create networks of retail as a stepping stone for an independent brick and mortar shops. We're working with governments to create flexible permitting and interim models for mobile businesses and empty lots as a way to activate these sites as larger projects get designed. And we're really focusing on this idea of a collaborative economy. The case study of Old Oakland has led to more opportunities for us. And we're looking at how retail is just increasingly collaborative, shared space to reduce rent, divide up in these larger square footages. And this is really what Lisa Gansky calls the mesh economy. So we're fully embracing that. So this is a very hyper-local approach, and cities really need mechanisms to integrate creative ideas and short-term solutions. So for example, creating offices of innovation, which San Francisco has, which is awesome, we want. This is a way to really integrate these innovative solutions and roll them out citywide. We've been looking at how the digital infrastructure and the physical infrastructure intersect, and we think that those points of intersection are where a lot of the innovation is going to start to happen, especially as a way to support local economies. And we think retail is actually a shifting context for local and handmade products which reflect an authentic sense of place. Increasingly, we're seeing local craft and production move into the back of shops, allowing more transparency with manufacturing and the creative process. Artists are opening shops, and it's important to integrate this creativity not just as a commodity or products, but as an asset to reimagine our communities. Retail is now becoming more of a hub for community engagement and a dynamic point for connection. So we execute first, and then we look at ways to support our innovation citywide. So we just did this really, really fast, but now we're a year along. So we're stepping more into workforce development and focusing on small businesses and nurturing these makers and artists as today's micro entrepreneurs, but tomorrow's job creators. Retail is using temporary spaces as a strategy to try out new ideas, find and grow customers, and get feedback. You know, people definitely shop online, but this myth that that's the only way they shop is busted. So we really want to meet each other. We want to touch products. We want to hear about how the shop is. We want to hear about how the shop owners are following their dreams, and we want to be inspired to follow our own dreams and help them along. So understanding all these forces allows us to begin to articulate that culture of the interim. And the specificity of place is really informed by these economic forces, population density, real estate markets, and we're looking at more homegrown solutions. So some of these solutions in Oakland may or may not make sense in Melbourne or New Orleans, but how we translate this innovation across sectors and cities will determine how we scale and how we push policy to sustain momentum, and ultimately how we share solutions with other cities. So I'm hoping that this conversation is part of that today. So thanks very much.